Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to the weekly Parsha Shir. This week is Parshat Va'eira, which details the mission of Moshe Rabbeinu with Aaron HaKohen to Egypt to speak to Paro, tell him to let my people go, and the first seven plagues. Okay, the Parsha is filled with incredible midrashim about how these plagues came about and what their purpose was. As Rashi explains, that the purpose of the Makos, the plagues, were like an army which surrounds the city and destroys its water supply. That's why the river was turned to blood. Then you have all the noise and to frighten the residents. That was the frogs and so on. Whatever happens is that Hashem sent each of these plagues in order to be able to teach the Egyptians a lesson. We have in our Haggadah, Haggadah Shel Pesach, we have the story of all the 10 plagues and how they worked and how each one did its job, so to speak. It was all revenge for the Egyptians and whatnot. And as Chazal tell us, all this is going to be a preview of what will happen to the nations when Mashiach comes. Not that Hashem is looking to punish anybody. That's not what his goal is. His goal is to raise us up to recognize Hashem, which you have several times in the Parsha. As Reb Noson points out, you have by the frogs, you have by the wild beasts, you have by the barad, the hail, right? There are various psukim that say, L'man sapeh shmi b'chol ha'aretz, to let people know and talk about me. That's what Hashem says. L'man teda ki ein k'Hashem Elokeinu, that you should know that there is nobody like God, and so on. The idea behind it is to recognize that everything that comes down to this world is all because Hashem wants it that way. There are good things that come. There are great times, prosperous times, livelihood and whatnot, good health. And there are times when there are things not so good. A flood, a tsunami, a heat wave, a cold wave, snow that nulls all the traffic and people get stuck and whatnot. We have to know that everything comes from Hashem, the good and the bad. Job told his wife when he became stricken, he said to her, Games hatoiv v'games hara nakabel. Let us accept the good from Hashem, but let us also accept the difficult times that come from Hashem. Right? Anyway, the Parsha starts off, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to go to Egypt. I promise I will take them out and speak to the Jewish people. Okay, he did it. And the verse tells us, V'lo shamu el Moshe mikotzer ruach me'avoda kosher. They did not listen to Moshe Rabbeinu because they were short of spirit. Mikotzer ruach. U'me'avoda kosher, they had tremendous yoke. The work, the enslavement, the bondage was very tough. Rebbe Nachman teaches, lesson 86 in the second part, lesson 86 in the second part, Likutey Moharan. He says there that when somebody has a kotzer ruach, he has a short span of patience, then he has hard work. Think of it. If you don't have patience, then everything becomes hard. This is no good. This hurts. This is difficult. Right? We have to learn to have patience. And great patience. Tremendous amount of patience. It's very hard. Sometimes we get upset. Right? I know I do. I get upset. And it's not comfortable. Why do I need this? Why has this happened? All right? What am I suffering with this for? All right? It's almost always due to the other guy, right? It's almost always due to the other guy. They're the ones who did whatever they did, and therefore I am suffering. That's not the way it really is. It's always because this is Hashem who wants to test your patience. I saw a beautiful t-shirt recently, like we're tested for corona, we're tested for this, we're tested for that. So the t-shirt read, I was tested for patience, and I'm negative. Right? That's basically what our lives are. Because of ruach, then we have hard work. Everything becomes harder. I don't have patience for this. If we learn to be patient, if we learn to let the suffering sit there. My Rosh Hashiva used to say, if a person were to live for 1,000 years, he has a long line of problems awaiting him. If this one goes away, there'll soon be another problem. And that's the way life is. So why are you in such a rush to get rid of this problem? Maybe the one behind it is much worse. All right? Have patience. Let it work its way out of your system. Let it work its way out of your life. All right? Guaranteed there will be relief. Because that's the way Hashem created the world. There are tough times and there are good times. Let it work its way out of the system. Hopefully you'll have a nice long period of goodness until the next blow comes. And that's what happened with the plagues. The plagues came. Moshe Rabbeinu, Rashi explains there, that it took 3 weeks of warnings and 1 week of suffering. Well, 1 week of suffering is never pleasant, but it's better than 3 weeks of suffering and 1 week of warning. So you've all been warned, we've all been warned, that there will be problems. But there's a respite in between, and Hashem will help you out. All you have to do is turn to Him. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu did. Paro came screaming and yelling, please get rid of this plague, please get rid of this, get rid of this, right? Moshe Rabbeinu said, okay, I will leave the city and I will pray. I will leave the city, Rashi explains, because the city was filled with idolatry. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to pray where there's idolatry. You know what? Our sages teach that arrogance and haughtiness is idolatry. Anger, not having patience, is idolatry. We have to learn to take patience, incorporate it into our lives, and keep ourselves going. There is Hashem. All we have to do is turn to Him. May Hashem help that we learn enough from all the suffering that we've been through, and that He help us, bring us the consolation that we need whether it's physical, whether it's financial, whether it's emotional or spiritual. Let Hashem help us all that we merit to come close to Him and learn to turn to Hashem for everything we need, and all the plagues and all the suffering and all the problems will disappear. Amen v'amen. Have a good week.